Hello everyone, more Survivor.io, and they said the final trial for Chapter 80 was the hardest that anybody's ever played, and I took this as a challenge. I don't know who they are, but we're going to see exactly how difficult this is. If you saw my Chapter 80 video where I raised the stakes and threatened to delete my account if I didn't beat it, you know then that I went in with the kunai. It was the only information I had, and that's what we're doing today. We're going in with the kunai, full eternal gear except for the stylish belt, and we're sitting at about 38,000 attack, 38,221 to be exact. For health, sitting about 155,000. Now, I don't know if I actually considered trials more difficult than the actual chapters, because going in, you're going to get a bunch more revives, and when you do face twice the bosses, well, now you're getting twice the chest out of it. Now, the biggest issue I have going into this trial is the biofuel being cut in half. Also, monsters will have haste, and all enemies will have increased HP and attack, not to mention we have the Eternal Darkness, which never seems like a big deal to me until I got to the final boss. And of course, when I say final boss, I mean 2 final bosses. Going into the chapter, I actually got pretty lucky with the abilities that I was able to grab. Now, I didn't go for Guardian this one because I didn't really see it, but we did get both of our drones, we got the lightning emitter, the soccer ball, and the drill. All key elements to have whenever going in on a chapter like this. When I played the first 2 trials for this chapter, I only got one of my drones on each, which really kind of made it a little bit more difficult, but I still don't think it was as hard as this final one. The first 2 minutes did seem to be a little bit of a struggle for me as I was trying to get these abilities up and trying to grab all the abilities that I can to really set myself up for later in the chapter. But the biggest issue I probably found was coming in on those first 2 bosses at the 2-minute mark, which was going to be the Dystopian King and the Papillion. Just the amount of projectiles that came at me and the poison, it was a lot of weaving going through, and with the darkness thrown in there, I was having a hard time seeing when those projectiles were coming at me, at least the stones that the Dystopian King was throwing at me. Somehow with some fancy footwork and some quick maneuvering, I was able to finally escape most of the attacks, and when that Papillion died, I quickly ran over and grabbed the health as fast as I could because I was going to need it on it. But we dropped them both, and from there it was on to the 2-minute to 4-minute mark. Killing both of those bosses definitely helped out my abilities as I was able to get both of my drones up to 4 stars. Now, I don't want to call the 2-minute to 4-minute mark easy, but getting those abilities definitely helped out and made the mobs a little bit more manageable. And luckily for me, I was able to get my drones evolved a little bit before the 3-minute mark. And killing the elite at the 3-minute mark definitely helped stack me up even more with another 5 pull. A little after the 3:30 mark, I was able to get the soccer ball evolved, and going in right at the bosses, I was able to get the drill evolved too, which was actually very surprising how fast I got things evolved before even getting my weapon to that point. The 4-minute mark, I was hit with another Dystopian King and that flower dude that's really not too much of a threat unless his projectiles are way oversized. After killing both of those bosses, I was able to get my kunai and lightning emitter evoed both at the same time, which pretty much made my abilities pretty set inside the game. From here, I pretty much tried to stack up on my attack, and then I also grabbed the rocket too to really help out with giving the HE fuel to extend the range of those drones. And this 4-minute to 6-minute probably was the easiest part of the game for me. At the 6-minute mark, I ran into the Mastermind and Terror Echo, and where I thought this was going to be a pretty challenging part of the game, it actually went pretty smooth for me. I think I just got lucked out on it and did some good dodging and running around, and they dropped pretty fast having all those abilities evoed. Grabbing all the chests from these boss was able to get my high power bullet maxed out, which gave me the most amount of attack that I could possibly get. The 6-minute to 7-minute mark felt like complete chaos. There was some deaths in there, there were mistakes, but on the bright side, I came out getting my rocket evoed. At the 7-minute mark, I was hit with another Mastermind and a Toxinator, and I didn't even know that Toxinator was there because it was just blended in, and I was so focused on the Mastermind. But once again, we survived, and then the real chaos happened. At this point, I had everything evoed, so whenever I went to get a chest or grab a magnet, it was pretty much all meat. And on top of that, it was me running around looking for chunks of meat on the ground just to stay alive. I couldn't tell if the game was glitching or if I was just getting lucky, but I was chancing myself left and right and just trying to push forward to dodge them grenades. And with having the soccer ball and ammo thruster maxed out, this still wasn't enough to keep these mobs away. Especially with the elite running around and going invisible, this made this an incredible hard time. But we made it through, and now we had to face 2 captains. I thought one of these was bad enough, but man, having the Eternal Darkness and not being able to see a lot of those bullets coming at you, I had to kind of step it up a little bit and say, you know what, I need to at least get a little bit closer to this thing so I can see where these projectiles are coming from. There was a lot of running around, but this did feel like one of the most insane boss battles in my history of playing Survivor.io. There were other times where I did really struggle and had to play numerous times. Even though I did beat this on the first time, I hope I never have to play anything like a situation situation like this again, because having 2 of these guys is not anything you want to deal with. But we lucked out, as I always say, and beat the trial. So I guess the question I have for you guys is this really the hardest trial inside the game? If you guys missed my actual Chapter 80 video, I'm going to have it linked right here, or just check out the one that YouTube wants you to watch. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and remember, I pick my butt.